Hi there, and a warm welcome to another episode of Today's Parent, where we connect you with experts and provide you with information to make your parenting journey a bit more easier. I'm your host, Christine Casina. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the difficult child. Do you believe you have a difficult child? Today, we are going to share insights with you so that if there's any characteristic that then resonates with you, if there's something you can do early to curb that behavior, today is the show where you're going to learn that. In studio, we have counselor. Her name is Anastasia Kihuaga, who's going to share more insights with us. Welcome to the show. Anastasia, what a pleasure to have you. The one thing I want to ask you from the very beginning, what's the difference for a parent who's watching, and even for a parent like myself, wondering, do I have a deviant child or I have a difficult child? What's the difference?
Most of the time we may not differentiate a difficult and a deviant, but there are things that you need to notice at early stages to notice a deviant, because a deviant is a behavior whereby it's outside the normal.
In
like
fact,
picking.
Even before you go to the characteristics, you've mentioned it very well, that a parent could be having a child who is hyper.
Yeah.
Because maybe you're 0 to 5, the different stages they go through,
Yes.
walking that journey with a child.
Yes.
How then do you tell that this is not something I need to see an expert for, it's something they're going to outgrow, compared to this is now something I need to really look into? So what is the difference when it's developmental, it's not something that you need to, look into, that a parent doesn't need to worry about? What is hyper?
What I want to say is parenting is a journey. It's universal, but it varies. You don't treat a parent the same as the other one, because different personalities will raise different children. Different children are going to be, we have different children at certain levels. And now, as we talk about the difficult one, as a parent, you need to understand your child. And what I usually encourage parents is find support system, because the journey might sometimes get tougher, because you have other things that you're doing. Remember, you're not only raising a child. You are a working mother or a father. You're also in business. You're doing so much beside raising a child.
Right.
And remember, this child needs you. The things that the child needs, they need your support in terms of love. They need your availability, and they need your attention. Sometimes you get to miss them. And you need to notice that a hyper child, like now you'll see them jumping all over. They're all over.
Right.
Yes. Not that, but a different child will pick. Like now I meet something, they will go, they meet a pencil somewhere, and they pick it and keep it. That one is a deviant behavior. So you need to notice that.
Okay.
And you need to differentiate it from somebody who is all over. You know, the people who are hyper, they are happy-go-lucky, but there are those ones who will, if you see a child picking something, like a pen, like even a bob, 1 shilling, going to buy a sweet, and you have not given them
that permission as well,
You're raising a deviant baby, and you need to start working on that. Take attention and start working on that behavior at quite early, because as the child grows, the advancing stages, as you said, 0 to 5, that's the formative. So something is being formed. And
what
it's
is being formed?
An imprint of something. A behavior is being formed. And a behavior, we say in psychology, that it's formed in 21 days. So unlearning that behavior, it's quite difficult. And some of the behaviors that we're seeing, even with the grown-ups and the teenagers, it never started when they are teenagers.
Starts when they're small.
Yes, when they're small. And most of the time, because of the absenteeism of us parents, we get to leave our children with our homemakers and home managers. And then they will never notice those things.
The small things
yes.
that then become big things.
Yes, they choose and pick. You need to pick them quite early, because you can never say that the children, even raising, I'm a mother of 3, I have a teenager, I have an 11-year-old, and I have a 7-year-old. They are very different. Like I have a daughter who is turning 14. My son is in between the daughters. So you can imagine. So I was getting difficult raising him, because my daughter is calm, the other daughter is quite calm.
And the middle one?
The boy, he's quite hyper. My boy will dismantle everything. Once it's new, he dismantles everything. So
he's hyper.
He's hyper.
Right.
And there is a time I almost felt that he was difficult, because he's like all over.
He's all over.
But the defiant is a behavior that is growing in a baby, and it grows over time. It is,
Okay, so the one thing you mentioned, Anastasia, the first thing is then you have a child who picks up things without asking and spending that money.
Yes.
What else?
What we are encouraging parents, attention. Please
Pay attention.
Yes, pay attention, because it's a walk, it's a journey. You walk with your child. And this journey, it's not a one-day journey. It is not a 2 days journey. It is a walk. And you will walk with your child. And the more you get to know the stages of your child in terms of growth, the more you will be able to point a behavior. And also what happens is, for a deviant child, you will notice a behavior that is changing from the norm.
Oh, so number 3, there is a change in their behavior.
Yes. There is, always we have a behavior that is quite normal, because there is that which that we take
that
as
is acceptable.
normal, acceptable to the society. But you'll find there are behaviors that start changing. You find things are getting difficult with time. It's not changing. A difficult child or a hyper child, with time as they grow, they outgrow. And after outgrowing, they pick another better behavior. They keep moving with it.
Yeah.
But a deviant one, they move
It
from
stays with them.
worse.
From bad to worse.
Yes. It keeps on going to the worst. And finally, at teenage, that is when we get the
you cannot handle them, I can
because
imagine.
there is either they never... A difficult child can grow and get an identity. They identify with themselves. As they grow, they mature and they adopt a behavior and they get an identity. But a deviant child, they grow with the problems after growing. In the teenage age, they get a confusion because they never developed an identity.
Right.
Yes, they never developed, they quite don't know themselves.
Okay.
Actually, they cannot tell you who they are.
Okay.
In terms of them understanding themselves, in terms of who am I, in terms of they never got to know, because when they were to grow, they never outgrow a behavior. They grew with it, it became part of them. And the worst is, in the formative years, that behavior, the stealing behavior, the uncouth behavior, it becomes an imprint, part of them.
Can you imagine?
So you can imagine.
Can you imagine?
That is why we're having difficult grown-ups today, whom we are wondering, okay, we are calling them cycle.
So most
But
likely they
it never
started off as deviant children.
Sometimes, yes. But
Okay.
some of them pick from the peers.
Yeah, as
because
they're
we
growing
also,
up,
yes,
as they're growing up.
some of them. But as a parent, because we are now talking as a parent, in the formative years, within the family foundation, that is where children pick values.
Yeah.
If they don't quite get the right values, the belief system of a child is collapsed. And once the belief system is collapsed, they will never again. It's now starting the journey of unlearning the collapsed system.
And I'm sure that must be very, very difficult.
It's very
That must be
difficult.
difficult.
And that is why we are calling parents back home to be attentive. Be responsible, work with your child, may it be a boy, may it be a girl. And also learn the personality, because we may be calling the deviant, we may be calling the deviant when it's a personality.
Yeah.
Because we have different personalities, and they tend to appear even when a child is young.
You know, speaking of which, Anastasia,
Yes.
let's go back to the causes of deviant behavior. What causes a child to become deviant?
Yes, some of the things that cause a child to be deviant, one, they might be, the parents need to know the child may be bullied.
Oh,
By the house manager or by the environment. Maybe the environment is not quite
it's
working
cool.
well. Yes.
Right.
So what happens is, if there is bullying, they tend to depict behaviors. It's like it's a defense mechanism that is working against them, but to them it's a comfort. A defense mechanism, it's a way that you adopt to make yourself comfortable even when it's outside the normal way. And one of the things is bullying.
okay.
Sometimes the children get stressed. They pick stress.
How do you know when a child is stressed? And at what point does a child start experiencing stress?
Stress, even
Ati mama unani stress,
even when they are babies.
which is
I
true.
do postpartum depression. I do postpartum depression counseling.
Yeah.
And one of the things you notice, when a child is stressed, they will bite your nipples when they are breastfeeding. And
It's not because of teething.
No, it's not. Sometimes they're just uneasy and they want to vent.
release.
Yes, they want to vent it out.
So what is this baby trying to say?
They are communicating. It's one of the language to communicate. Okay, sometimes when they are teething, they want to scratch themselves
Yeah,
with the nipple.
because the gum is itchy.
Yes, but sometimes they're speaking, because the language of a baby, they will only speak when you're breastfeeding. So sometimes, and what happens, if the mother is stressed, they pass the stress to the baby.
Which is true.
Yes. So you even make them irritated more. So what are you growing in them? You're growing a behavior that is going to be seen very soon.
Yeah, so you pass on that energy to your child.
Yes, the energy, the negative energy.
Yeah.
So what we encourage parents, let's observe positive energy. Let's work on the positive energy. And positive energy is whereby you pick things, like I'm liking this room. There is a lot of good things, like when the energy is too much, give them a doll to go pray with it,
Okay.
or something, just to ease the energy.
Okay.
And work on the positive energy. So
Right.
stress is picked by the
So you've
children.
talked about bullying,
Yes,
stress,
yes.
and which other one can you think of?
You can also make the child become deviant by, like now, name calling them, like now, brain shifting.
Right.
Yes.
So your
I've told
child
you I have
become
a
what,
calm,
what you call them.
Yes. I've told you I have 2 calm girls and I have a
And a
boy
typhoon.
who is so I may start, he may become a brain game, whereby everything is done by her, and because they know him as somebody who is always hyper,
Yeah.
they might blame him. So with those blame, the child goes to their concept and they feel they don't like me. You remember what I told the needs of the child?
Yeah.
They need love,
Yeah.
they need attention, and they need the personal needs. But when they feel that they are not attended to, they feel like I'm hated in this family. What will happen?
Wow.
They will start picking, they get deviant behavior. Some of the behaviors that we are seeing, even drug and substance abuse. It is sometimes not, okay, some pick from the peers, but some of it is picked from the
Home.
foundation.
From the home setting.
Yes. This person feels, I don't have a sense of belonging. So whenever they get the peers, they get a sense of belonging. So what do? They get another parent. Remember, today we have different type of parents. One in the digital. You know, a TV is a parent. A peer can also become parent.
Very true.
So this behavior, they might pick them because there was a behavior that was picked. They felt that they don't belong, and because they don't quite belong. So by the time they're in teenage, they pick another social peer whereby they belong somewhere. And that belonging, they can pick deviant behaviors and they adopt them. That is a way they're communicating. By the way, some of the social media things that you're seeing, even the photos, they're communicating. And that is how the stress that was picked, a child can even, the cool one, the personality one, they can kill themselves. They become suicidal and homicidal. So you see, at the foundation, as parents, we need to pick those things. And we need to differentiate between being a difficult child
and a deviant child.
Yes, and how do you outgrow them? So outgrowing them, it's you understanding. Because right now, if your child is stressed, how do you pick stress from your child? And unless you have you're attentive, unless you'll see the changes. You know, there are those physical changes.
Yeah.
We have social changes and emotional changes in a child as they grow. And the emotional one, it's never picked. Most of the time as parents, we don't pick the emotional well-being of a child. And most of the time, we find almost it's being destructive without us knowing. And most of the time, I'm sorry to say, parents, we destroy our children because we project our feeling to them. Wow. They want to be heard. Also not giving them space.
So what we're going to do, we are going to take a short break, and then when you come back, we'll share more pointers with the parents. And then if somebody has, a deviant child, this will be the point where you share the pointers with them.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
In today's episode of Today's Parent, we have a conversation with Anastasia Kihwaga, who's a counselor, and she's sharing pointers with us. If you have a deviant child, this is the episode you need to watch so you can get pointers on how we can do better going forward. We're going to take a short break right now. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to today's episode of Today's Parent, where we are talking about the difficult child. In studio today, we have Anastasia, who's a counselor, sharing with us insights of what it means to have a difficult child and the interventions at this point she's going to share that we can do as parents and where we need professionals to then plug in and get professional help. Anastasia, as we're coming in from the break, there's a question that has come in from one of our viewers. Her name is Karen, and her question is, a friend was telling her, mtoto wako ako na kichwa ngumu. But when she looks at her child is 4. She feels, my child is fine. So how do you differentiate when your child is being a kichwa ngumu and your child is just being a child?
I think we'll go back to the same what we are saying about the difficulty, the hyper, just or the child just being the child. Let the child be, because sometimes you put a label on a child which is not right.
Yeah.
I feel that one. Okay, I don't know the parents, but I feel that is a label, and her as a mother of the child, they should untag that label. Let the child not be labeled as a defiant. Why? Because people can label you. They can name call the child, and they may end up spoiling the child. In the name of the child's trying to fight his or her way back, they may be defiant in the head. So as a parent, please be sure to always affirm your child. Support them.
So affirming your child is very, very important.
Affirm them. Because sometimes, there are family cultures which are very different. Somebody may visit my house. My house, I've allowed my children to play games and do everything, even whatever they do, even jumping all over. But there are families whereby their culture is, you're quiet. You're calm, cool, collected. And most of the time, people want you to, Christine, you want me to behave the way you are. I cannot be Christine.
Yeah.
I'm always Anastasia.
Yeah.
So even in different family cultures,
it's different.
Yes, it's different.
It's different.
And the environment is different. A baby who is being born and raised in Eastrad
is different.
Another one from Karen or Westrad. Please, they cannot be the same. And I'm not saying that they're deviant, but there is that environment has
an effect on their behavior.
The personalities of the parents have a role to play.
Okay.
So all those things comes to into play. So you as a mother or a father, you're the one to affirm this child and let them not be name called, because that one is happening quite a lot from the other people.
That your child is difficult.
Yes, labeling in the schools, whereby the teachers, because of being not knowing or knowing, or just not being ignorant, they may label your child as a difficult or deviant, which is not right. It's only that we are not allowing our children space to be.
In the long term, does it ever work to be an authoritarian parent?
We have authoritarian parents, but it doesn't quite work out.
Eventually, we will rebel.
Yes.
Most of us do.
Most of the authoritarians, we raise rebels because they are growing up with a way of saying, whenever I'll be big enough, I'll fight back my space.
Right.
So, and they will fight back in a way that they are drawing your attention. And by the time they are drawing your attention, they may be drawing your attention in drugs and substance abuse. They may be doing quite a horrible thing, like entering into cultures that are quite deviant.
Yeah, drugs and that kind of thing.
Whatever. They want to be heard. They want to do something that they want to be noticed. And as you are saying, as a parent, now that we are coming into the deviant, the behavior can be minimized at a ground level.
Speaking of which, what interventions would you then propose that can be done? Let's start with the home or the home ground.
Yes.
What ground? What can a mom, a dad do if you have a deviant child?
Support your children.
Support.
Remember, it's your child. Yeah, it's my son, it's my daughter. The support is whereby listen to them, because as you have heard, the way I was saying that parenting, the deviant behavior can be built from stress, can be built from being bullied. Maybe there is a lot of work in school. So, grades. These days we talk of grades. We don't talk about how is he doing.
And what
is
your
feelings
feelings
in school. Does it even occur these days that the feelings should be heard? Feelings should be heard.
Speaking of which, let's demystify it.
Yes.
Because your qualifications gives you leeway to tell us as parents, because they know when we bring our children to you, they're able to talk to you somehow. What tip can you share with us parents of how we can hone our listening skills? Because we keep saying we need to listen to our children. How can you define listening? Does it mean when your child is speaking, give them that 5-10 minutes of without interruption? What does listening mean?
Listening is quite wide. You listen to somebody's feeling.
Listening to their feelings.
Yes.
How?
Listen. You watch them.
Okay.
When they're venting out the emotional part of it, listen to their emotions.
Listen, that's a deep one. That's a deep one.
remain calm even when it's difficult.
And how do you do that as a parent?
You just remain calm.
That is hard. That's very hard for most
It's a
parents.
art that you have to perfect.
Right.
It's an art, and that is why I said parenting is not a one day. It's a gradual process. You keep growing. I usually find myself that I'm not yet mature in terms of parenting.
Yeah.
I am growing every day.
Yeah.
Experiences make you a parent. The normal circumstances, I mean, the world today is making you a parent today.
Yeah.
So active listening.
So active listening is important.
Is giving an ear, a hearing ear, and also not reacting to the hearing, but being proactive. You just keep calm, cool, and then act when it's necessary.
For many mothers who are watching right now, we have a certain face. Even when our words are not speaking, but our facial expression.
Patience is a fruit that needs to be worked
Yeah.
on. It's a fruit that really needs to be worked on because it's not easy. I usually ask myself, I want to be listened to. Do I listen to others? And most of the time, you don't listen to our children. And whenever you listen to your children, you pick they communicate quite much when you're listening. But when you're not listening, they will keep up and block. And I'm finding these days that I want to speak to my teenage boy or girl, but I was not there when he was growing up.
So
I
having a
didn't develop a
conversation
culture.
with
Yes,
God.
I didn't develop a culture of friendship, whereby compliment instead of complaining, compliment instead of competing, compliment. Let them have a space whereby they can fill in a gap and feel that they belong in that family.
Instead of complaining, compliment.
Yes, because every child needs to belong. And when they don't belong, they will look for somewhere to belong.
All right, Anastasia, before we run out of time, I know it's very important for you at this point in time to share the interventions that we can then put in place at home, and if there's any professional intervention that you can recommend.
Okay, one of the things I want the parents to intervene in at Deviant, please develop a support system.
What kind of support system?
Support system whereby, as a family, support the boy or the girl in case you notice their behaviors that are not working well. By either enforcing the behavior or letting them know that whatever they're not doing is not right. Also, look for a support system in terms of psychological professional, whereby people are going to support you who are better placed than you. Look for somebody to. We have counselors. We have people who are well versed in that area, experts in that area. Please consult an expert. And what I usually tell parents, including myself, it is okay to invest in our children. Because you don't invest today, tomorrow they're going to leap off from you.
Yeah.
Whatever you're bringing together in terms of house, in terms of building, in terms of developmental space, it's going to be a leap off in case you don't develop the child who is going to leap there. The person, the custodian of whatever you're bringing together. If you don't bring up a child in a way that they are going to be a good custodian of whatever you're bringing together, they will scatter them. Because if I have been investing in building, I've seen building going down because you take a child to rehab after rehab. It's not easy.
Thank you, Anastasia.
Yes.
And with that, we thank you for your time. We've learned a lot from you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
In today's episode, we were talking about the difficult child. If any of these pointers that Anastasia has shared have resonated with you, it's not too late. What she has said that is of most importance, we need to learn to listen to our children. Listen, let them speak, pick up on those vibes that they're trying to communicate so we can see how we can nip these behaviors at the bud. We hope you've enjoyed today's show and you've learned something, and we thank you for your time. We've been here in studio at Little Cribs, the home of fun, exciting and durable kids furniture. If you're looking for parenting resources, go to www.supermamas.co.ke, where you'll get more pointers on how you can become a better parent, the parent of today. We thank you for your time once again, and we look forward to having you next time. Thank you for watching.